FedEx full, we command in the block. Burgundy and gold, got the city on lock. Hustling plays, they don't need to pretend. DC reppin' strong and we fight to the end. Command is moving, no breaks, no pause. Hands in the dirt, respecting the call. K-Dot in the mid, dissect the grind. District divider with city in mind. Trying to dance why, don't miss a bit. And you gotta spread the words, or shit is shit. K-Dot.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. This episode is absolutely loaded. I mean, first and foremost, it is the preview episode against the Carolina Panthers. We host them 4 o'clock kickoff, guys. Just a heads up. You would think it's 1 o'clock because it's here, but it is a 4:05 p.m. Eastern kickoff that is taking place. K-Dot, sounds like you just found out. Sounds like you just found out. We're already informing you guys. Okay, so just a heads up, including the co-host. So it's a 4:05 kickoff. Plan accordingly. Of course, we got the All-22 review. We haven't gone through the Ravens film yet. So K-Dot, not with the 50, 60, but 70 screens, has seen everything. He's going to explain that to you. And of course, we got Darrell Green having his jersey retired at halftime of that game. That is once again at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, K-Dot. And so before we begin the episode, which of course is the common mailbag as always, maybe even an after the pod where we're talking about the trade deadline, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and K-Dot.
Make sure you know what channel the game's coming on and at what time.
CBS 4:05.
Son of a bitch. They're blocking it out. Fuck you, TV refs! You piece of shit! Yeah. Share this shit!
Share it.
Why?
We're off to an absolutely electric start over here. So K-Dot found out he just can't watch the game at his place.
I watched the game. Org, matey! I'm the fuck out of it.
Let's begin the show, dude. Let's begin the show. All right. So first things first, Darrell Green, an absolute legend of the franchise. Thank you, Kata. An absolute legend of the franchise is having his jersey, that legendary, iconic number 28, retired at halftime against the Carolina Panthers. Played 20 seasons for us. 20. I mean, one of the fastest guys ever. Like, just absolutely incredible for us. A legend forever. K-Dot, your thoughts on it, and I believe you have a clip as well that you want to share in a moment.
I do have a clip. I have a clip that should kind of summarize the way everybody in this area kind of feels about Darrell Green and our desire and want to let everybody know just what he means to us. I mean, we came up at the tail end, the twilight years of Darrell Green, but we knew that, like, anytime you put on any of those old school Redskins VHS tapes or DVDs, it was always going to be one guy prominent, right? And if there's a list of names or numbers that should be retired for Washington, you'd be hard pressed to find anybody more crucial to. I mean, he's like Mr. Redskins, right? Like, if there's a Mount Rushmore, there's no way he's not on it. So, I know anybody who watch sports television, you know who these guys are, and they're especially important to this particular area. They were both columnists for the Washington Post, but I think I'll let them take it away.
Time. People need to. This jersey is going to be retired finally by the Washington football franchise. Belongs to Darrell Green. Get on Google. Go find him. You think people are shut down corners now? Tony and I knew a shutdown corner. Hall of Famer, 2-time Super Bowl champ, all around great player who at now 60-some years old can probably, I'm going to go 4.6. He can run a 4.6 40 tonight.
And he's only about 5'9" or 5'10", right? I mean, he's not a big guy. And he also returned kicks and returned punts when Washington needed.
Returned one against my Bears. I don't want to forgive him for that.
I mean, he's a great
DMV
player.
Lucky to have him.
Great player. You ready to go to the big finish?
Let's do it.
Lucky. I mean, that's the thing. We're lucky to fucking have him. I don't know if you saw the video of them unveiling his suite.
I did.
It's just so cool, man. It's just so cool. I love now rooting for an organization that knows how to take care of their fucking legends. It's been a while.
It's beautiful. And again, just to quickly recap some of his accolades as well. So 54 interceptions in his illustrious career. Now, mind you, teams weren't even throwing as much back then. Lord knows how many he'd have now. This team could probably use him right now in his current state.
And the thing is that those interception numbers, they weren't throwing his way. He shut down the side of the field.
Yep.
It's insane. Yeah.
And so 7-time Pro Bowler. This is when Pro Bowls were like an honor and privilege to go to versus people being like, I don't really feel like going this year. And then he's 3-time All-Pro. I mean, so you talk about Mr. Redskin. This was the guy. So shout out Darrell Green. Shout out the organization for doing it right. If you haven't seen the video of them unveiling his suite, it's awesome. Check it out. And an absolute legend. Very excited for him at halftime on Sunday. Any final thoughts, Kate, up before we move on to the All-22?
Nah, it's just dope. I mean, I guess I'm starting to put together like lists of other jersey numbers I want retired, or at least other guys that need to be in the Ring of Honor. But Darrell, I mean, he's been there forever. But yeah, I just got my mind kind of working.
Well, without further ado, in that case, let's go ahead and get to everyone's favorite segment. It's the All-22 review with K-Dot. Go ahead.
Favorite segment? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's the All-22 review on District Divided. Bitches!
All righty. Oh,
God damn it.
Damn
it. Damn it.
There's more.
Damn it.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Welcome to the All-22 review, guys. Featuring K-Dot. I ask questions, he gives answers. But also, once again, they're not 50 screens. That's not enough. They're not 60 screens. That's not enough. He's got 70. And he's working on 71, actually. He told me that just before the show. K-Dot, over to you. The All-22 review against the Baltimore Ravens. Once again, lost the game 30-23. Curious to see what your takeaways were from it.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to go fund me for the electric bill in this fucking house, feel free. All right.
I'll drop the link in.
So the breakdown is such. Going through the All-22, this was actually a pleasure to kind of look through. There wasn't a whole hell of a lot different when going through the tape than what it is that we even saw post-game or was able to watch in the game. It just kind of shored up some things, or at least allowed the ifs, or kind of like your sentiment after the game, which is like, we were so close. We were so close. It felt so close. And I think I was more like, I will say that after watching All-22, it was close. Like, I know that it did feel at times as though Baltimore was kind of throttling us, but I'll kind of more talk about that when we talk about the defense. But I wanted to start with offense and talk about Jayden and just what I saw offensively from everybody here in it. Just like we said in the pregame episode, it was always going to be a struggle for Washington to get ahead of the sticks early on in downs, right? We live off the trying to get 4 or 5 yard chunks either through screens or through runs to set us up where we're the most deadly on that like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and short, where anything is option. There's any option, right? Cliff can go well within his wheelhouse to just do anything he wants to do. You never know if Jayden's going to drop back and drop a fucking bomb on play action. You don't know whether or not he's going to roll out. You don't know whether or not they're going to run it for it. Like, you have no idea, right? But it's not news to everybody. Every team wants to be in that particular position, but us is particularly deadly in that particular position. Also, when knowing, except for in this game when it came to that punt, that we're usually going to go 4th and 4th down too, right? So right. It's awesome. That being said, of course, in this particular game, it was very, very hard for us to get to that particular point. And this is where it goes to those ifs, ands, or maybes, right? You could see early on in the game, Washington's doing everything they can do to get in that down and distance area. They're trying to create runs on the. They're trying to do some misdirects or anything to try to gain those yards. It's just not happening. There were some absolute moments in the game where I was just like, God damn, you kind of wish Brian Robinson was in there,
right?
Right? You're like, man, that particular play, the contact. If Robinson in there, that's 3 or 4 yards. Instead of no gain. And that can make all the difference in the world when you talk about a game that was this tight, right? So that to me was that's probably the thing that shone out the most. That's not me saying that Brian Robinson was going to have a 100-yard game or anything like that. But if you're talking about every other drive to get a 4-yard gain where you get a 1-yard gain, just what it does.
Oh, K-Dot, just to piggyback out, 10 carries for 40 yards, even 38 in that game. Would have been huge. Potentially for me, K-Dot, the way I saw the game, that could have potentially flipped the result and helped with time and possession. Like, it was, we missed him.
I completely agree with you. Also, when they didn't stop trying to run, even when it wasn't effective very early on in the game, it did set up for more play action I've ever seen us run so far this season, and it was working. So this is something that I know that I've been talking about in a lot of the All-22 is like, it looks like Cliff setting up the play action. So they went to it, and they went to it heavy, and it was highly effective. And what was even more effective this time when we get into the Jayden Daniels piece of it all is that Jayden is making so much progress still week after week after week. You can see his game even in this. There were still a lot of situations early on in the season where play action just meant Jayden's probably going to scramble. Wasn't the case this time. You had play action where he still stood tall in the pocket and delivered the football. You had play action on rollouts that they were trying to do. And we know right now, this is something that Jayden did not do in college, but he is doing now, which is rolling out and getting on the outskirts. What you see Lamar Jackson have so much success with, which is being on the outside the pocket, before the line of scrimmage, but looking downfield, allowing things to open up, and then taking full advantage. Or if things look good, you can still take off and run. It gives you some options. But Jayden did. I know Mina Kimes, I think, was talking about that with I forget who it was. Whatever. She was talking to somebody about that aspect of it, which is that like Jayden didn't do that. He just didn't do that at LSU. Like there might be in his entire career at LSU 15 tops times that you'll actually see him do that rollout. So just knowing that he's getting more comfortable with that aspect of his game is huge. The more confidence he's having as far as throwing those balls in the tight windows. There are so many things that you see early on in the season where it's like, hey, that's open. That's NFL open. Take it. And he wouldn't do it. And you think, all right, you try to get in the psychology of it. He doesn't want to force the ball. He doesn't want to turn over the ball. I think he's now getting to a point where he's like, you know what? I can do it. And I'm going to do it. And he's doing it. Were there still some guys open? Yes. Were there still some more opportunities he could take care of? Yes. I'm telling you, Luke McCaffrey, man, that boy gets open.
I'm telling you, he's going to come on. You've been saying his name forever, but just like the more the games happen, the more you see this breakout's coming this season to me.
There's going to be a bomb week. Every week, just as a little sidebar, every single week of the season, I put together a parlay of, for Luke McCaffrey, 2 receptions, 50 yards, and a touchdown every week.
It's going to hit.
I know it's happening. I know it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And it'll pay off for the entire rest of the season. I didn't hit, so I get it. So just seeing that as far as Jayden's development and seeing like, okay, every bit, it's just getting better and better and better. And you can also see there's some things that he can do physically that we haven't really tapped into yet. Really, truly design runs is not some outside of that QB sweep that never seems to work properly. There's not a whole lot of design runs that we're running with these guys. But I'm telling you, with the blocking the receivers are doing, with the blocking the backs in the backfield are doing, with how many times the offensive lineman can pull this way and the other, when they really start getting into it, I'm telling you, man, there is some room. And I can't compare it to anything. I have no idea. It's like what everybody talks about with Lamar Jackson. I think that's what it is. It's like you heard about like Michael Vick and that ability, but he never really put it together except for that 1 year. And then he went away and then he comes back. And at Philadelphia, he's just older. He's not as fast. And it's just Jayden Daniels looks like he's there. He gets it. He gets it already. Just freaking take it off. Oh boy.
Kid's special. He continues to improve. Just think about where he was in that Tampa Bay game that you basically implied and alluded to, and where he was this past week. No run game support of note, right? He's going against a Baltimore Ravens defense led by Zach Orr. Yes, they've had some struggles, but I mean, they played against some elite QBs. Then Dean Pease comes in as an advisor. To me, the defense already looked a little bit better for the Baltimore Ravens. And Jayden's doing what he's doing. It's great.
And we still talk about who they faced Baltimore going into that game over the course of the season, which that murderer's row of quarterbacks and stuff.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You can understand they didn't have necessarily all of
Burrow, together, right? Allen, right. And they did well against Allen. So,
yeah. So, yeah. Look, as far as what the offense did, I could, like, other than outside the running game, and once again, I don't know what that looks like with Brian Robinson in. I just know if you got a Brian Robinson in, there's a very good chance the outcome of that game is a little bit different.
I completely agree. So that's the offensive side of things. Anything on the defense, Kate?
Yeah. Keyword for the defense is inconsistent.
Okay.
I will give you this. I know after that game, in the post game, I was down on the defense. I was pretty upset with the defense and the way that they performed, at least as the game went on. You were shooting them a little more bail than I was. and I will let you know they deserve some bail. They deserve a little bit of bail as far as like what it was overall in the performance. We knew going into the game, what is it that Washington's only shot was in this game?
Making Lamar throw.
Make him throw. You load up that fucking box. You do not let Derrick Henry just run all over you, and you do what you got to let Lamar throw the ball. They did try their best, at least early on in the game, to stick to the game plan. And I'll tell you right now, it was working. So, like, I jotted down Derrick Henry's runs in the first half of the game, okay? On drive 1, 2-yard gain, no gain. Drive 2, 5-yard gain, 4-yard gain, 3-yard gain. Drive 3, 1-yard gain. Drive 4, 5-yard gain, 15-yard gain, 3-yard touchdown. You're like, all right, he's going to take it at some point. And then the drive, the 5th drive, he had no carries. They were in the 2-minute offense.
Sure.
When you see that to me, and you look at what the score was in the game, it's working. Like it's working. It's working. Right. Down the stretch, it's when you get into that territory where you're not going to stop Derrick Henry all day.
And it's also going to be noted there are a couple things at play, and I'm curious. We're going to talk about the injury report and moving forward. Jonathan Allen now out for the year. Mm-hmm. And he did get hurt on the Derrick Henry touchdown run, which I believe was the last carry of the first half based on what you just said. So that second half split is now without John Allen. Mm-hmm. We're going to see how the run defense continues. But to echo what we were talking about, or at least where I was at, was I did feel we were doing a good job stopping the run. I'm glad the numbers bear that out early on. And that's what I was talking about, at least early on, right? It gave our offense a chance to impose themselves, which is what I wanted. Yeah.
No doubt. So that's the thing is like early on in the game, it definitely gave us an opportunity. You're not going to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson all game. You just can't do it. So down the stretch when you've got to deal with a defense who are worried about this big-ass motherfucking man, like I said, Mack Truck dressed up as a human being, dealing like all fucking day long, you're going to start giving some stuff up. But if you look at early on to keep your offense still in the game is crucial. And the defense did a damn good job with that. No taking away from it. Now, what was promising in the first half, as far as that goes, you could start to see Baltimore starts making some adjustments to what it is that they were doing. Mm-hmm. And this is where you start getting into the, okay. Todd Monken and those guys are in Baltimore. There's a reason they're as good as they are, right?
Right.
Look, when they were selling out against the run, they were doing some things on the back end that were a little bit different than what we would typically do. Usually we play a lot of 2 high safeties. You get the front 7 just kind of as is working as far as run support. I know if you look at PFF, I think they got Bobby Wagner's like the 2nd highest rated defensive player like in the NFL against the run. Like they do some things as far as getting Wagner and Louvu involved like a lot. They're near the line of scrimmage. And they were trying to rely on that to some degree, but you can't play 2 high safeties. You need another guy in there just to make sure that nothing's happening with Derrick Henry. And look, defensive line doing a lot of kind of stunts, things like that were freeing up some plays for Louvu and Wagner to make. But when you got your defensive backs now by themselves playing a lot of man coverage, things did not go as good as you want them to. And you kind of know that. There is a talent deficit, at least to some degree. But I think what was very clear to see was that what Baltimore started doing was like, okay, they're going to do that. Cool. Let's throw some play action at them. What you're going to understand as I go through this, a lot of the game plan for both teams were pretty much the exact same for either team, right? It was very much like this is the recipe for success.
I'm kind of trying to be baby Baltimore, to be totally honest. Like ultimately, we want to get there. Yeah,
that's 100% what it is. But you can see absolutely like they start doing the play action, and you got at least some of the DBs. They're a little unsure. They're hesitating. They're still playing against the run, and shit, you're a step or two behind. And then after you're a step or two behind, there was also a lot of miscommunication you could see with some blown coverages, things like that. And that's where I'll actually play this clip from Joe Witt talking about that thing that was so clearly relevant in the game.
When you talk about like communication issues, is it what happens there? Because sometimes it looks like maybe a lot of guys are playing the right coverage and maybe
it's one guy.
What is it? So is that a communication or is somebody not recognizing?
It's a little bit of both. Communication is sent, received, and acknowledged. So there was 2 cases. The communication was correct. That was sent. All right. It wasn't received by the person that needed to get it. And, bad things happen. One time, this communication that was sent was wrong, and the guy, he received it, and he played what was told to him, and we let a free runner go. And so either case, I got to do a better job of making sure that it's sent properly, it's received, and it's acknowledged, and we play it the right way. It's unacceptable.
And then,
good job with John Keim asking the question. Our guy. Yeah, that was clearly evident when you saw Baltimore sort of change up what they were doing offensively and start taking some shots, at least down the middle of the field. Once again, if you got Louvu and you got Wagner playing closer to the line of scrimmage to make sure what you got as far as Derrick Henry is being taken care of, and you got your corners playing man, you got some opportunities in the middle of the field if you got dudes that are biting on the play action, this, that, and the other. But where the miscommunication really came into is when Washington started realizing, okay, our guys are getting beat, man. You got to give Joe Witt credit down the stretch. He starts switching to more zone. The problem with zone, you cannot play proper zone if you're not communicating properly about whose assignment is where and what you're supposed to do, and not overcompensating for somebody else trying to do something for somebody else. It takes all those elements of communication. So when you saw they start playing zone, there are large swaths of territory that you can clearly see, oh shit, busted coverage. Oh shit, somebody didn't do that. And then they were making plays. Now, when I say that, it sounds like it was just happening to us all game long. It wasn't. Actually, right before that, Joe Witt actually says, and this is the quote, "I hate coming up here talking about communication because we've been good the last couple weeks, but 4 plays cost us the game." And I think that is a grand indictment on this game. And that's why I'm going to give credit to you on it. We were in this motherfucker the entire way. And the idea that if the communication is just a little bit better, if instead of those 4 plays, it's 2 plays, different outcome possibility. Like, this is where we're at. The idea that we are in that territory with a Baltimore Ravens team right now with a rookie quarterback and the roster being the way it is a huge testament to the effort of everyone, is a huge testament to the coaching, is a huge testament to Jayden Daniels, of course, but it's a huge testament to a lot. This team took Baltimore to the limit. I know it didn't feel that way at certain times. Once again, you got to remember Derrick Henry. But at the end of the day, if they make any one of those plays, there's a chance that you get good teams to talk about they snuck away with one, they stole one.
Yeah.
That's your opportunity. You got to start doing that.
In Jayden's 6th ever game. So first off, I appreciate the credit there, K-Dot. And like, that's the thing. So when watching the game, it did feel like we were closer, and I came away, I think, a bit strange because I was feeling a bit more positive because I was like, actually, I think we're further along than I expected in terms of the way the game unfolded. So I thought we did a nice job stopping the run. I'm glad the All-22 bared that out in the first half, just to be clear, early on, just to give our offense an opportunity. You're going against the number 1 ranked run defense without Brian Robinson. Could that have changed things? Perhaps. The defense, of course, is going to be tough when you got your DBs tackling and helping in the run game, and then all of a sudden they have to guard Zay Flowers and Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, and Rashad Bateman started eating. So I do expect that it'll get better. Do you feel that, K-Dot, that the defense can improve some still based on what you saw, or do you think this is one of their, I don't want to say better games, but like this is sort of the ceiling?
I'm not going to say this is one of their better games. I'm not going to go that far, but I will say that
neither would I, just to be clear. Yeah, that's why I stopped. I was like,
yeah, I'm not going to do that because even what Joe Witt is saying, they were good communicating, and you could see it. You saw early on when we were doing the first All-22 videos this season. I'm like, dude, you could tell the defense is not communicating at all. They're not communicating. They're not talking to each other the way they need to talk to each other. When you are watching live on TV and you see one guy run up to another guy and tap that dude and tell him to go there, you got another dude to run. That's communicating on the fucking field. You want to see that from a defense, okay? The best defenses, you see that shit all the time. When you got your Fred Warners out there on the field, that motherfucker talking to everybody at all given points in time, right? Like, you need to see that shit. Mostly what you saw early on was like Bobby Wagner might be talking to Louvu, but that's about it. Now you see, and especially no communication with the secondary. Then they get into a position where you start seeing the communication working out, and they're starting to get some stops where you didn't necessarily expect them to get some stops. Once again, still a talent deficiency, but they were getting the job done. This particular game, that communication, you could see some of it pre-snap, But then it's like, well, what the fuck did you tell him? There were moments like that in that game where it's like, well, what did you tell him? Like, you told him the wrong thing. Like, and that's what Witt's saying is that, like, there in all three facets of communication, there were breakdowns, right? I think the big thing coming out of this week is, like you alluded to, Jonathan Allen being hurt now for the season. Tough.
Yep.
Tough. Then outside of Jonathan Allen, the communication is not something I think is going to remain the same. I know that it'll get better. They've shown me they can get better.
That's how I feel about it. I think it'll make a big difference.
Yeah, and like I said, when you're dealing with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, that's a tiring endeavor. And that's an endeavor that, like, a frustration level that has to exist, that maybe you're not communicating at the level you need to. And maybe there are some wrinkles that Lamar or Derrick Henry or Todd Monken on the offense is showing that you're not necessarily reading correctly. Remember, outside of Bobby Wagner, there's a lot of guys that don't have a whole hell of a lot of experience on this team, especially in the secondary. So they're all kind of learning as we go. I love more than anything, and the reason it makes me feel as though things can get better is listening to Coach Witt.
He's great.
But specifically, when is the last time in Washington you've had a coach that can speak with that much specificity about exactly what went wrong in diagnosing down to how many plays it went wrong to be able to then teach it? The fuck? How many times have we just get coached?
I mean, the irony, the irony that he himself seems to be a fairly good communicator and is able to clearly articulate what it is he is trying to see out there, what he wants. Biggest roster turnover in 80 years. I think it's coming. I really think it's coming, and I'm excited for it.
And then once again, we just got to realize there's no one that we're going to face going forward the rest of the season that will give us the same issues the Baltimore gave us.
Right. Because it's a specific matchup nightmare for our team. We only lost by a score, and it's still a young team that's going to get better. Well, that's too. They might be the best team in the league. I mean, like, so right. Now that they've warmed up a little bit, and Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry once again, might be a league MVP, by the way. Any final thoughts before we move on to the matchup?
It was wonderful seeing, for the most part, some good fucking football. I did not like watching the Browns tape.
All right, cool. So more refreshing tape for K-Dot and those 70 screens of his. Thank you very much, as always, for that, K-Dot. You got to outro us now so that we can get. Let me
see if I can do this without any wrinkles.
Okay, here we go, guys.
It's the All-22 review on District Divided. Bitches!
Oh, absolutely nailed it. Shout out K-Dot for that. Crushed it. And now here we are with a football game to play this coming Sunday, 4:05 p.m. Eastern on CBS. So as always, we got to...
Or on the internet. The dark web.
Or on the internet. So as...
Oh, no, you know, I think Paramount Plus might be streaming it for me. I'll see that.
Really?
I'll see. I did some more digging.
Or maybe Paramount Plus if you got it. Just heads up.
Possibly.
So anyway, but we got to set the stage as always with the context, and that's going to be the injury report. Why don't we go ahead and begin with us, K-Dot, just because it's a bit of a shorter list, but it's a significant one. So, of course, we had mentioned Jonathan Allen is out for the year, which is a big blow. I know there are a number of fans, for whatever reason, they're like, oh, you're not doing anything. He was doing something, guys. Like, it's frustrating to see him go down, and wish him all the best in his recovery. Dorrance Armstrong has not practiced at all. As of now, doesn't look like he's going to play. So that's now two key defensive linemen that are out for this game. Javonte Jean-Baptiste also on IR, by the way. So he is out for the next 4 games. Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner. It looks like rest. I haven't heard anything. Kate, I don't know if you have, but I haven't really heard anything about them not playing. I think that they are legitimately just resting there. And then a number of limiteds, and the one big one, Brian Robinson, limited and sounding optimistic that he's going to play this coming Sunday. Another key name over there, Jordan McGee, who is currently designated to return from IR. He had some full practices last week, and he looks like he maybe will play this Sunday. So we'll see what happens over there. That'd be quite nice. Now let's go ahead and flip over to...
One second.
Sure.
Just one moment.
Yeah.
The criticism for Jonathan Allen, I think, needs to be...
Let's talk about it.
Just for a moment. It's, look, we're on here and we're letting you guys know Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, for what it is they've been getting paid and being the most expensive defensive tackle duo. You're expecting to see more things maybe out of the pass rush. You're expecting to see more gaudy stats. You're expecting them to be more game records. But I will tell you this. If it's not for the job that Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne are doing week in and week out, Wagner and Luvu do not, under any circumstances, shine the way they are shining.
Thank you.
You have to look at them taking care of their responsibilities and the fact that the offenses have to devote so many resources to stopping them that it allows Luvu and Wagner to eat. And sometimes within the confines of the defense, which is I'm not entirely sure that every once in a while I'm like, okay, maybe they're playing within the confines of what the defense is expecting, which is that they don't expect them to be the playmakers. They expect them to get lanes open for Luvu and Wagner to then make plays. Sometimes it's not everybody can't eat all at once, guys.
Right. No, thank you for saying that, Kate, because you said it better than I did, because I'm going to curse out a lot of these fans who are just like, oh, Jonathan Allen, look at his stats. Shut the fuck up, dude. Like, he is so important to what we do. Like you said, allowing others to shine, that's a hell of a role to play as well. And he himself has had a nice season. Anyway, so he's out for the year.
And it still might be true. It's the last time we'll see him in the burgundy and gold.
Yes, and so that's true. And so next man up, we'll talk about it when we talk about the Commanders defense, but let's go ahead and talk about the Carolina Panthers, who, I mean, guys, good luck to you if you can read this. I've got it on a separate page here as I read it to you. So one of the first names, maybe a more attractive one for fantasy football fans, Jonathan Brooks. Limited, did not practice. They don't expect him to go till week 9. I know that there have been some reports on Twitter like, oh, he's going to play. He's not going to play. So he's definitely out. There are some important names on this list, K-Dot. Jadeveon Clowney hasn't practiced the past couple of days. Josie Jewell has not practiced the past couple of days. Deontay Johnson, wide receiver one for them, who has done very well. We'll get into it with Andy Dalton at the helm. Has not practiced the last couple of days. Taylor Moton has not practiced the last couple of days. Ashawn Robinson has not practiced the last couple of days. These guys are banged up. It is truly that simple. A number of limiteds and fulls over there. But they're banged up, and they're as banged up as can be. Thank you for this, Kate. I appreciate it. And that's going to set the stage for, hey, we're favored by quite a bit here. We'll get to it in the predictions. We should win this game, first and foremost. But let's talk about Jayden Daniels. Let's talk about the Commanders' offense against this really run down Carolina Panthers defense that's missing Derrick Brown. He's been out for the season for a while now. It's missing Shaq Thompson. He's also out for the season. So that's their spine, basically. We got Jaycee Horn. But they're banged up, K-Dot. Over to you. How would you attack this Panthers defense that, I'll be honest, you can attack however you want to?
Yeah. The reason I'm kind of just sitting here is, well, number one, it has not been mentioned yet that this is your fucking side piece team. Well, and
I had the over-under at 18 minutes, so 33.
And beyond that, where we also get into, as you were going through this injury report, there's some important names. I'm sorry, I don't see one important name. But once again, I know you went into the season with, oh, this guy is good.
We'll explain it. We'll explain it. I'm not Mickey Mouse. Okay, we'll explain it in the other. Okay, easy.
All right. Here's that. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna read some shit. I'm gonna turn it over to you. So know what I like to go to? Key advantages. Yep.
Yeah, we got a great offense, huh?
If you're watching on YouTube, it's sort of self-explanatory. If you're not watching and you're just listening to us, long passing, 5-star advantage to Washington. Passing versus no play action, 5-star advantage go Washington. Passing versus the blitz, 5-star advantage go. It goes on and on. You know what? It goes on.
My Lord. I mean, 4-star generals, 5-star commanders. Just everywhere. It's littered.
Jesus Christ. The Panthers are 32nd in points per game.
Mm-hmm.
No, hi. Yeah, that's it. 30th on third down. Their pass defense. What the fuck? Their pass defense allows a 109.1 quarterback rating.
It's been tough. It's been tough.
8 yards per attempt and 70% completion with only 6 sacks. That's the passing game. Let's go on the run. Last week alone, Carolina gave up 198 yards rushing and 5.2 yards per carry and 3 touchdowns. And Atlanta's rushing offense is ranked 21st. You know what we're ranked?
3, 2, 3. One of those.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. I got 5.
2 or 3. Yeah, okay. I got 5.
Look,
this is an all
now to
situation.
you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, know a lot about this team. Have been following them low key. Been awfully quiet about it. You should be able to do whatever you want against these guys. Just going to keep it a buck, especially against their defense, because 1, they're banged up. 2, they're not very talented. Okay, I said it. And so I like Ejiro Evero. I like the DC, but nothing to work with here. Nothing to work with. Again, Shaq Thompson being out is huge. Derrick Brown, who helps sort of set the lanes for them, a run stuffer, he's out, and you can see it in the numbers. They've allowed 12 rushing touchdowns to just the running backs. Forget quarterbacks, just the running backs.
When you said run stuff, it reminds me of Trump. I have a concept of a plan. He has a concept of run stuffing. I get it.
Well, okay, fair enough. You know what? This is the episode where I'm taking a beating. I recognize that. Okay, and that's why I'm writing the credit you gave me in the All-22 all the way to the bank.
I made sure compliment sandwich like a motherfucker today, baby.
Listen, 12 touchdowns allowed to running backs, 4.6 yards a pop, and they haven't played like us, right? They haven't played Baltimore. They haven't played these premier running teams. So we should be able to do whatever we want. Some people will call it a trap game. I'm not calling it that. We should be able to do whatever we want. Straight up should be able to do whatever we want. If you want to get Luke McCaffrey going in this game, I think you could do it. If you want to get Ben Sinnott going in this game, I think you could do it. I think this is the game to be able to, first off, get back to what we do, running the football and being able to get to 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, etc., and then allowing Jayden to short passing, but then open it up a little bit. I do think you can get as many people as you want involved in this game based on what the personnel the Panthers are working with on the side of the ball. And I also think that a lot of guys have been blocking their tails off for 6 weeks so far, and I would like to reward them with some targets to spread this ball around. That's how I feel about it, K-Dot. You can do what you want against this team. There's nothing special about the Panthers defense. I'm just keeping it a buck.
Look, I know I'm being a little hyperbolic, just a little. It is the NFL, so any team can be any team, right?
That's true.
Period, point blank. This being said, as I just gave this Commanders team so much credit for what it is they did against the Baltimore Ravens, this is one of those games where you can't allow yourself to be trapped by it at all. And even if it is a fucking trap, you should still be able to take care of it. You should be able to win this game with bear traps on your fucking ankles. It doesn't matter. You should win this fucking game. You should win it handily on offense. We'll talk about the other side of the football. You maybe got some questions, but
yes,
on this side of the fucking football, no. This is show out. Show the fuck out. Be disciplined in what you were doing, but be methodical. Show the fuck out in all facets of the game. They should not be able to touch Jayden Daniels. Brian Robinson, Austin Ekeler, Jeremy McNichols should all have good games.
They should all score. I'm just being honest. They should all score. Like, this is how rough it's been for the Carolina Panthers. Trust me, I know. They should all score.
This is not, I won't, anything other than a demolishing on offense.
Correct.
I find to be, to a certain degree, unacceptable.
Yeah, no, K-Dot, I'm right there with you. I don't even think much more needs to be said. Once again,
let's show everybody this.
I mean, yeah, you can do anything, man. This may be the worst team in football. It's certainly one of the worst. It's certainly one of the worst secondary. We're not secondaries, just defensive units. That's for sure. We're gonna move on. Let's talk about the Commanders' defense against the Panthers' offense over here. And so this one is a bit more of an interesting matchup, in my opinion. So Jonathan Allen being out for this game. Let's see how the defense reacts. Dorrance Armstrong not playing. Javonte Jean-Baptiste not playing. I think it opens up an opportunity for Jamin Davis to be active at bare minimum. Let's go ahead and see if he can do something with the opportunity. Let's see next man up with, with Fedarian Mathis or with Johnny Newton. How will they do in rotating in Jonathan Allen's absence? Does F.A. Obata play more interior? That was cited last week as as a reason that he was active over Jamin Davis. We'll see about all that stuff. That's just the defensive line. I will note this, kid, up before I throw it to you. There were a couple. One thing I liked about the Carolina Panthers is that the interior of the line is strong. And even now, despite how bad they've been, that has continued to be true. So if you look at the various PFF rankings, at least for the two guards and the center, that interior unit has been top 5, believe it or not, with the Carolina Panthers. Once again, we're missing Jonathan Allen, and Chuba Hubbard has been running the ball very, very well. Not a household name necessarily, but he has been averaging over 5 yards a carry 4 straight games. The moment Andy Dalton's in, he's running wild. We need to stop him. And then if we look at Andy Dalton, because of that interior protection, he's been able to be okay. I'm not going to say he's lighting the world on fire. He did in his first game, but after that, it's been okay. I wanted to point this out. K-Dot, if we could pull up the full screen of the EPA with man and zone, might be a bit difficult for you guys to see, but I want you to pay attention to the bottom right. And you're going to see Aiden O'Connell, Andy Dalton in that bottom right area. What that is showing you is that against man coverage, Andy Dalton's doing pretty well. But against zone coverage, Andy Dalton, one of the worst in the league. He's alongside Will Levis, Jacoby Brissett, Deshaun Watson, Aiden O'Connell. It's just not going well against zone coverage. So thank you for that, Kate. I appreciate it. And then if we go to the next bit that I had also shared, and this is a bit tiny. I apologize, guys. That is on me. I should have given Kate out a larger one. You're going to see that actually what we have been doing is playing a surprisingly decent amount of man. And so this may be an opportunity for the Panthers, if we were to continue playing man, for him to be able to do something. Now, we had mentioned Deontay Johnson earlier, not practicing. That's big because since week 3, since Andy Dalton became the starter, he's 3rd in the NFL in targets, and he's doing pretty well with it. So he is somebody that you'd have to look out for, obviously. The other guy to look out for in the passing game, Jatavion Sanders, and a bit of a sneaky one. I know there's Xavier Legette. Jalen Coker is starting to come on for them. His snap share is starting to increase. They're very, very high on him. Just a name to look out for, but I wanted to highlight Chuba Hubbard first and foremost, who I think has been very, very effective. And then Andy Dalton, man versus zone, 2 totally different quarterbacks, and to look out for Deontay. Just wanted to point that out. K-Dot, over to you. Sorry, I monopolized some time there.
No, love it. Because actually, just to reiterate exactly what you said, you love the fun facts. What's so crazy is that your fun fact, the fun fact that I chose is exactly what it is that you had. Andy Dalton has faced man coverage at the 6th highest rate this season, 35.7%, and has been effective against such coverage. His 72.5% completion percentage against man is the highest in the NFL. The Commanders have played man coverage at the 10th highest rate this season, 33.5%, while allowing the highest completion percentage, 68.4%, and the 6th most yards per attempt in such coverage. That would have been a less than fun fact. Sorry. So,
Sure.
Keep it at consistent.
Nervy facts on this side of the ball.
Yeah, but look, this is the first line I wrote in my notes as far as talking about this our defense against Panthers. The Panthers are a tale of turnovers, inconsistency, and an underrated running back. That's it. That's who they are. And then you have a veteran quarterback, Andy Dalton, that you can't overlook, right? You can't overlook a vet like that. He's not going to see a whole lot of things that he hasn't seen before. And if you're going to play not communicating at the level that you need to be playing at, and having busted coverages, or allowing, look, how do we feel about the Panthers as a whole? They do have some wide receivers that, they're getting paid in the NFL fucking talent. And if you don't want to treat them with respect, they'll make you fucking pay. I'll pull up the key advantages here. Yeah, still watching.
Yep.
Look, man, it's just one of these games where it's like, I think that this is one of these opportunities which the defense, this has got to be a stepping stone moment for the defense, depending on where it is we're looking at. If we look at the performance that they had against the Ravens, and I want to give them credit for the performance they had against the Ravens, and knowing that Joe Witt even can determine where it is that they have lacked in certain aspects as far as that defense. This is a team in Carolina that if you want to take the next step as far as what you're doing as a defensive unit, you've got to beat them. You got to make them hurt. The turnovers for them has been something that's like, what the fuck? They've turned the ball over in every loss they've had so far this season. including 3 against the Saints and Bears. The Bears game, there was 1 pick and 2 fumbles lost. In addition to the 2 fumbles lost, Dalton also had 2 fumbles that were recovered by the offense. Just throwing it out there.
Right.
Opportunity. And then Dalton threw 2 picks against Atlanta last week, but then he had 2 touchdowns, and those touchdowns actually look pretty fucking decent against Atlanta's defense, so they're pretty fucking stout, like top 10 defense. They average 17.2 points a game. We have yet to score under that at any point in time.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of these games where, like, there are under no circumstances overall holistically we should lose. None. Correct. No excuses. And if in just looking defensively, you got to take care of this fucking team. Like, you got to beat Carolina. I don't want it to be a situation where I got to rely on Jayden Daniels, the rookie that we don't want to make be the savior, save our asses by having to score 30 fucking points. No,
Correct.
Defense, time to step it the fuck up. Because I'm sorry, but if you look across the rest of this fucking NFL schedule, we're trying to give the Panthers credit. Well, I'm trying to give the Panthers credit in order to not be disrespectful to NFL professionals.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give the Panthers some credit because he likes them for some reason.
I thought, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So there might not be a more worse team that we're going to face the rest of the season than these Panthers.
That is also true.
So you got a Chicago game that's looking juicy.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of this shit. This is one of these go to fucking work and take care of this shit. No, they're not allowed to stay in the game with us. Take care of these motherfuckers.
And what I'm saying is that there could be a recipe for them to stay in the game, in that we look at the Baltimore Ravens and we're like, wow, the Ravens, the institution, the team, the organization, etc., they are excellent and we know it. And then there's the Carolina Panthers and you just go the opposite of that, right? The opposite of that. However, if I look at the interior of the line for the Carolina Panthers compared to the Baltimore Ravens interior, right? Now they have Derrick Henry in the backfield. These guys have Chuba Hubbard. Huge difference. But if they can get push, and that's why that Jonathan Allen injury is intriguing in this matchup, terrible overall, but just like from a matchup perspective, intriguing is, do they get push? Because if they do, then maybe it does get a little weird. We should still win, just to be clear, because if the offense is putting pressure on them consistently, that's where time of possession kicks in, and that's where mistakes can happen because you have a Panthers team that doesn't have as many opportunities. They're trying to make everything perfect. That's your turnover. That's how you get those. But you need to make sure that I would commit more. See, it's tricky because he's worse against zone. Just win this fucking game. You should win this game. You should win this game. Especially if Deontay doesn't play.
This should not be a situation in which, if we're looking at what we like to call it, complimentary football.
There's no compliment here with the defense.
Right. But as far as us go, playing complimentary football should allow a situation where Chuba Hubbard doesn't get more than 15 carries this game. I will go as far as to say this also, though. The defense, you got to prove it to me. You got to prove to me that you can beat these motherfuckers and guys like this, where you start looking at some of the things of the X's and O's, and you start looking at opportunities that Andy Dalton could potentially take, or the opportunities that Chuba Hubbard or the interior of the line could actually take. Look, we're 2 fucking podunk dumbasses who got a podcast and can point out exactly where it is the deficiencies are for the Carolina Panthers. You know what, Joe Witt? You know what, Dan Quinn? Yeah, I'm sure you're doing a much better job than us, and the players need to go out there and fucking execute that shit. Like, I'm still waiting for them to prove it to me. I'm waiting for that overwhelming defensive performance to let me know, oh, shit, we don't need to do the shootouts all the fucking time. Mm-hmm. And even with that said, I'm still starting Chuba Hubbard on my fucking fantasy.
Oh, you have to. Yeah, you'd be dumb not to, just to be totally honest.
Look, I know Chuba Hubbard very fucking well because his ass got Travis Etienne riding that goddamn bench for a while, as long as he's motherfucking still producing, right? Give me a reason to put Etienne back in after this week. Give me a reason to question what the Carolina Panthers did. Let the rest of the league understand, oh, shit, Washington had the game plan that ruined the only positive the Carolina Panthers could potentially have. That's what I want the narrative to be after this week.
I would love that. An overwhelming dub, getting the job done, and then on to the next week. Let's get to 5-2. So why don't we go ahead and jump over to the predictions here, K-Dot, where we are 8-point favorites with an over-under of 51.5. So as always, from you, I need nice new layout here. I need a score. I need a winner, and I need a player of the game.
38-17. Washington wins. And that's not as convincing as I want it to be. I'm disappointed in that performance. Okay. Player of the game, Luke McCaffrey!
It's happening. It's happening. You're hitting. 2 catches, 50 yards, and a touch at least.
Gotta hit it.
Oh, that'd be awesome to have a breakout game from him. So the score I have written down, K-Dot, Commanders 38, Panthers 20. So I do think that they will get to 20, maybe even 23. But this is a game where I would love to see a pick six. I know we talked about Andy Dalton, being better against zone, stuff like that. But if you put enough pressure and you get a 2-score lead on these guys, I think there are going to be opportunities where you can house one the other way, in which case it would actually be more like a 45 because I didn't even include that in my score. But we should take care of business this week. We both have us dominating this game, winning this game. And to your point, I also think it should be a wider margin than that. But we'll see. Feels good to feel about the team this way. I'm sorry. My player of the game, it's not going to be Jayden. I will say Austin Ekeler this week is player of the game. All right, cool. Over to bet of the week, K-Dot. What you got?
Just taking it straight up, guys. I'm not overthinking this. Like I always said, maybe they'll spread the ball around, so I ain't picking no goddamn props as far as who's going to score, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. I think the only thing that I should be able to feel very secure on is Washington covering that fucking spread. As you said, when it comes to the running the football, maybe they backdoor cover at some point, whatever, to maybe a little concerned about. But I also give you this. I'm doing an alt spread, and I'm also saying that they're going to win by 2 fucking touchdowns. I'm going to play that motherfucker too. So I'm just saying, I want to be convinced coming after this game. And then Amit and all the assholes have been trying to make which I will relent. It actually kind of is a thing. The Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels feud in the Chicago Bears fans of the
it's real. Yeah.
It's real. I just want let's turn into something major and coming up. Let's make it so that I want us to crush the fuck out of them. And then we got the matchup of the fucking year coming down the pipeline. I'm looking at that Chicago game a lot more than I thought.
You know how badly they wanted to flex that to Sunday night? So San Francisco-Dallas is the next Sunday night game.
Mm-hmm.
And there was at least a conversation. That's how compelling both Caleb and Jayden have been. Shout out Jayden Daniels for winning Pepsi Rookie of the Week for the 5th time in 6 weeks, especially this past week, which was particularly hilarious because it was Caleb's best day as a pro easily. But I think Jayden did it against a better defense. Sue me. So that's going to be a fun one. I will also throw in a bet of the week. I did not send this to you, but as we were talking through it feels dangerously close to free money, which is why I'm a bit wary of it. But the over seems like, if it's at 51.5, I could see us getting to that. 38 seems like a very doable number for us. And then I do think if the Panthers chip in, because we're thinking about from the over perspective, 14, you hit it. I really think that the over is a great play this week. That's how I'd feel about it. 51.5 over.
All right, we're still waiting for Jayden to have a bad day. Everybody has a bad day. Maybe it's this one.
Yeah, knock on wood. Anyway, let's go over to the comment mailbag as we always do. But before we get there, we always need to be introed by our very own Nikki.
Comment mailbag time, motherfuckers. District divided, ain't got time for no suckers. Spread the word, get in line. OGs and new G's, it's your time. And spread the gospel, cause this shit is divine. Yeah.
Thank you, as always, Nikki. Greatly appreciate that intro. And we're going to go ahead and begin with Big Papa Grizzly. Shout out. Despite a Commander's loss, I did still have a good birthday. Thank you.
Good.
The win was disappointing, but I stand resolute in my love for this team. Losing by 7 to the best team in the league and arguably the favorite to win the Super Bowl does not leave the sour taste in my mouth that it used to. No moral victories here. I agree, K-Dot. The team leaving the game pissed off was a good thing to see. Carolina is not going to know what hit them. That's the comment from Big Papa over there. K-Dot, your reaction.
That's the hope, man. That's the hope. Like you see the little, I guess locally viral meme of Jayden on the sideline looking angry. You see them coming off the field. You hear Joe Witt in that press conference. You hear Cliff Kingsbury, you hear all these guys. I can't imagine that they're walking into a trap game with Carolina because of how much they really care about what just happened in Baltimore. So they should be able to punch these motherfuckers.
This is where you ride the fact that Dan Quinn is very grateful for a second opportunity as head coach, for being as experienced as he is, for bringing in all the experience that he did on the coaching staff. Right on. And again, you hear Joe Witt talk, you hear Cliff and his ideas, you hear Dan Quinn. This is a very serious group of coaches. I don't think that a trap game can exist so long as we have this type of coaching staff, to your point. So I think this is almost a statement game, to be totally honest, of this is how good we are. And we don't want something like that to happen again.
And I should have echoed even Jayden Daniels in his presser this week. Actually, as I said, when we were talking about the Carolina Panthers, he's like, they're an NFL team. And that's the thing that I've been most impressed by with Jayden is how his mentality and the intangibles that I thought J.J. McCarthy had are clearly.
I know I'd clown you for it, but still could.
Look, I will say there are a few guys in the league that make it that make you believe that they truly believe that each day is a new day, that they got to keep with it, that you don't start looking way too down the road. I believe it when he says it. A lot of these players, when they say the shit, I'm more like, okay, you're just telling us what we want to hear. This feels like this is like the man's mantra. Like this is his way of life.
K-Dot, we mentioned this months ago, and it may have flown under the radar, but when I heard it and we talked about it, I was just amazed by it. When we talk about Jayden Daniels at the ESPYs, he gets his award and goes home. Think about that. He went home. Like, all the stars are there. He could have hung out with it. He didn't even hang out with them. He was like, I got a day tomorrow. This guy's different, man. Like it is. And he speaks like he does. Like, but that was an under the radar story of like, yo, he hasn't played a single NFL snap. He could easily lap all this up. He was 2 overall. He's already been chosen. People want to talk to him. Nope. Sorry. Got work tomorrow.
And that's the thing. It can work both ways. We had a quarterback in 2012 that probably would have went home from the ESPYs to have his mom braid his hair. We don't got that. You see, there's another side to it, right? Jayden's that dude that's like, I'm going to go home. I'm probably gonna study. Like, that's what I'm gonna do.
VR. I got the headset on.
VR. Maybe I play a little Madden, be around my family, be around Brandon Ayuk. I'm gonna do my shit. But like, yeah, there's a balance. You can't be too weirdo. He ain't a weirdo. He's just I'd rather be in. You know where I have my fun? On the football field.
Yeah, dominating.
That's the vibe.
I'll let people talk about me while I do me. We go over to user SC4A. Okay, yeah, it's a long username with a bunch of alphanumeric characters. Shout out. Question. Why won't Washington sign a defensive back and trade for a big receiver to free Terry from the possession duty? So this is something K-Dot and I are going to talk about a little bit after the pod. We will discuss both of those, but just noted, and we will talk about it. And there is a reply from Earl Bruce going, because they want to keep draft capital. And that is also surely part of the conversation. K-Dot, are you okay to hold on to our thoughts there until after? Okay. So appreciate the comment there. User SC4, you know who you are. We go over to K-Man60. We know this one. Shout out. The lack of onside kick at the end had me questioning if they were even a thing anymore with this new kickoff BS. Shocked we didn't see one. Zay Flowers looks so good against us, and I think that says more about our defense than it does Zay's athleticism. That one extra point was shocking. Didn't get tipped. He just hit a goose. Concerning. And so that is Brother Zab of Pally for Life.
Oh,
so shout out. Right. Yeah. So shout out to him. Get out your reaction.
Look, in this, the way that onside kicks happen right now, I mean, I've seen some stuff happen close. I think I've seen one has been recovered so far this season, when I'm mistaken.
Yeah. I think Dallas against Baltimore, actually. Oh man, really should have done it.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going that far. And as far as the criticisms I had, as far as some of the coaching decisions, I've let it go. I told you guys that it was like it's the first time. Coaches are always going to do things that you might not agree with, and they've got to learn shit too, and they've got to get. And so, like, I've let it go. We were still that close to beating the Baltimore Ravens. I feel more positive than I do negative about that, and Yeah, on to the fucking next one. If it becomes a habit, maybe that's something that we talk about. But even some of the coaches that have had habits and not necessarily the best ones, people like to forget what Andy Reid's reputation was when he was in Philadelphia before he went to Kansas City and became a god to everybody, right? Like it shit happens. And no one as far as Dan Quinn the second time around, I understand. Here's the thing. I can conceptually understand his rationale. I disagree with it, and I think it goes against what it is that we want to be and who we want to be. And sometimes you have some lumps or you run through some speed bumps as you're going through it, man.
Yeah, completely agree over there. I do wish, wishful thinking, and even in the moment, just given how the defense was playing, would have loved to see the onside kick twos. Honestly, would have. But to K-Dot's point, I think the coaching staff has already earned the benefit of the doubt to a large extent. But should we go on a slide? Should we lose this game? All of a sudden, yeah, there are a lot of questions that you could suddenly start asking. We go over to Earl Bruce. Shout out. Earl Bruce, OG there. The Ravens game, it was but a bump in the road. They lost by 7 to a better team, favored by 7. Lessons will be learned, and by the end of the year, they, barring injuries, will be a better team. They can win the division. Sit back and enjoy the ride. That's the comment from Earl Bruce. Shout out. K-Dot, your reaction.
Love it. No notes.
No notes. Same here, by the way. Great comment. We go over to House of, what is this, from Ministry? From Ministry. House of, wait, no, there's an R though. House of a Ministry. Anyway, shout out. Let me make this clear. The formula is offense sell tickets and defense wins games. Correct me if I'm wrong. If a good defense lasts on the field and another team needs to score 3 points to win and the defense makes that stop, the team wins game all the time. Bit of a choppy comment. K-Dot, were you able to discern meaning from it?
I'm able to, I guess, have my own theory on what was being able to said and kind of respond to that. It's just that, yes, defense is usually going to win you that game. It's just that the defense was not necessarily, at least at that end of the game, playing as well as they need to be playing in order to get the job done. One of those things that I even said a little bit ago, as far as like I can understand some of the rationale, is Dan Quinn being a defensive-minded coach, thinking I'm going to put the hands of this game in my defense to get this job done. I could sort of understand that rationale as far as that mentality. I would just let him know you're a head coach now, not a defensive coach. And look, at the end of the day, this unless the defense is showing up and out every week, we might be playoff contenders, but I'll never put us in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with that. We go over to Evil Raven, 6997. Shout out. So we got a Ravens fan for the looks of it. K-Dot, good at talking, is what Evil Raven says. Probably basking in the glory of the victory over our Washington Commanders, 30-23. That's all it said. Could have also just been literal. Hey, K-Dot, you're good at what you do, man. So K-Dot, your reaction.
I'm gonna take it that way. Thank you.
Yeah. I think you did a great job. Evil Raven, thanks for stopping by.
Appreciate it.
Do so again. Appreciate that. We go over to Mr. Payne, 134. Shout out. We might as well trade Jamin, Forbes, and Defoe for some extra draft picks. We should have Kyle Hamilton, but Ron traded down for Jahan Dotson. Should have drafted Christian Gonzalez over Emmanuel Forbes, and should have drafted Osu, the linebacker from Cleveland, Osu Koromoa, over Jamin. So Mr. Payne reflecting on the past and some of the misses that we had thus far relative to who was taken instead, just to be clear. But that was what the comment was there. There's one more, and then Kate, I'll let you react to both. Love to see players, coaches, and front office pissed after a loss. Shows we are serious about winning. Salute Amit and K-Dot, the dynamic duo. Appreciate that, Mr. Payne 134, for the love and for always stopping by and commenting. K-Dot, your reaction to the comments.
I am no longer in any circumstances discussing any regrets or bad decisions that happened with the previous administrations or regimes here in Washington. Who gives a fuck? What I know right now is that this particular team is one that I'm fucking proud of, one that is ahead of schedule with the amount of turnover that they've had. And all I'm looking for is the opportunities and things that they do to be able to put a more winning product out on the field. And I'm telling you right now, the future is fucking bright. What will tear down that glory is thinking about days in which we do not have to think about it anymore.
Yeah. No, well said. And I'll also say this. If we do all those things, or even one of those things, do we have Jayden Daniels right now? do we have the current situation right now? I don't know. So maybe it happened for a reason. I'll also put that out there. I'm thankful for the current situation that we're in as a franchise. I will say that.
Effect, baby. Look,
actually,
Eric, thank you, Dan Snyder, you piece of shit. You gave me this.
Well,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, fuck that.
To an extent. Yeah.
Maybe I'd be basking in 5 Super Bowls.
I do like that you went there, though. Hey, you had to try it. Let's go to. We normally conclude with Jess Santo, but he's in the middle this time, so we're going to throw it to Jess Santo right now. Shut up. Right. Love the current intro song, K-Dot. It has a Gangstar feel to it.
I dig it.
I've been a union cement finisher for almost 20 years now. Okay, you had asked. I'm positive that you were not expecting that vocation. Well, boys, that was a tough loss. Could have been a needed one, though. A little bit of humbling can go a long way. The improvement is definitely noticeable under the previous regime that could have gotten ugly. The biggest question mark that this team made last offseason was letting Kendall Fuller, walk. He's a savvy veteran with a ton of defensive knowledge that would have provided depth. St. Juice was exposed. Flowers is just flat out faster than him. The pass rush is still struggling, and the defensive line injuries are only going to make it worse. Phil Mathis, has really stepped up, but with Allen out, we finally get to see what we have in Johnny Newton in a bigger role. The defense still needs a ton of work and talent, but they still held Henry to under 140 yards and held their offense to 30 points. A lot of teams in the league could not hold the Ravens to that. Mike Sanders still played tough. I knew at some point they were going to have to move him outside. He's going to be our defensive Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin segue. Terry and Jayden played their asses off. That was by far their grittiest performance. That last touchdown pass was insane. The one on the 4th and goal in the corner. Oh my God, beautiful. B-Rob is not a flashy running back. He's a hardworking grinder. Those tough 4, 5, 6 yard gains really keep the chains moving and the offense humming. He was sorely missed. At one point during the game, I realized how similar the Commanders and Ravens are. What the loss came down to was experience. The Ravens players have been together for years while ours have not. The division is still ours at 4-2. We are still light years ahead in our developmental year. The cow bitches were murderized. The Vagiants lost, and the Sheagles almost lost to a pervert. All is well in the Commanders Brigade, and the future is still bright for us. Let's see how they respond to the Amit side piece next week. Share this shit. P.S. Jayden didn't break a leg. And that's a huge PS over there, knock on wood, because that was something we were like, oh boy, I can't even say it. And he came out unscathed. That must be noted. K-Dot, your reaction to Jess Santos' comment.
Wonderful to know you're a union man. Good to know. You're smart cookie. Like it. Yeah, man. Everything was sort of reiterated. Like if you hear that comment and then go and you've listened to this entire episode, relax step.
Yep.
Relax step. Wonderful job as always.
100%. Hey, we're all dialed in here. All dialed in. Appreciate that comment as always, Josh, and just love the optimism that continues to build as we continue to go through the comment. Fantastic. Always makes my day. Appreciate that. We got a few others. I'm saving one for later. We go to Cody Rind. Shout out Cody Rind. There are a couple I'll save for later. Man, there are so many what if scenarios going through my head. I felt like the turning point was in the third quarter when Olamide Zaccheaus dropped the pass and Washington had you guessed it, 4th and 6 at the 44-yard line and chose to punt. Then they drove 95 yards to go up 2 scores. I know it's tough to go for it there, especially since Washington struggled a bit on 3rd down. But at that point of the game, Washington could not stop Baltimore. I hate moral victories, but takeaways are, number 1, Jayden Daniels is a dog. He proved he can compete with a Super Bowl contender with his arm and through adversity. 2, Washington is no longer taken for granted anymore. They can compete with anyone. And 3, we are still number 1 in the NFC East, baby. Let's put belt to ass on Carolina and go 5-2 into Caleb week. That's the comment from Cody Ryan. K-Dot, your reaction?
Yeah, I think the All-22, it did give me that what if, like the ifs, the like, oh shit, if that happened, what would that happen? And that was more prevalent where you were post-game compared to where I was, where I felt as though the game felt as though it was more out of reach than it actually was. Yeah, man. Good comment.
Good comment. Let's go 5-2. Headed
I'm
into.
I'm loving this positivity that's coming in the like. It feels good right now.
Oh, it feels great. As good as one could feel after an early season loss, because we've seen a lot to suggest that we should have ourselves a season and continue to grow. And I don't know that we know the ceiling of this team yet. We go over to, should we do these first? I'm trying to think about it from your emotional health standpoint. Let's just go to Brendan. Brendan Nichols. K-Dot, how well did JJ McCarthy interview this week against White Chocolate City? P.S. Greg the Leg is my hero. Fucking Greg Sirline lost to Brendan. Damn it.
He's trolling you bitch.
I figured you'd enjoy that. I was trying to skip past it.
Brendan, you're still an asshole. I'm glad.
You like that? You like that?
Yeah, because
you like the little turnaround?
It was great. Thank you. That was a nice little surprise.
I'm glad you like that.
But it's still. This is what I was alluding to last week. The only knock on me during that entire piece is your fantasy football team name, you son of a bitch. So I'm glad.
Right. So for those that don't know, and that's why the comment was brilliant. So Brendan and I played against each other in fantasy football. If for followers of the show, when K-Dot and I were talking about the quarterbacks and he talked about the intangibles, the top golf and stuff like that, we were talking about JJ's interviewing skills, or I did anyway, where I was like, yeah, okay. So after that happened, we always have to, in this league that K-Dot is commissioner of, shout out, you have to change your team name or else he'll change it for you. So I changed mine to JJ McCarthy interviews well. And it's a stock photo of JJ McCarthy in a suit, basically. And so that was a little jab at K-Dot. And so Brendan's been saying that over and over and over, but I just lost to his team named White Chocolate City. And Greg the Leg kept missing fucking field goals. I mean, come on. It was a 32-yarder. Anyway.
He was texting me during that game, and then we had your game pulled up. I was cracking.
I couldn't believe it. You should see me on the fucking couch. Good. I was like stewing, and I was just, I was like, come on, it's right there. I couldn't believe I was in a position to win because Garrett Wilson was doing so well. And anyway, here's one from Jim Sleazy.
Oh boy,
I think you'll like it. Shout out.
Hold on, before you even get into it. Now I'm probably not going to like it because of what you just did.
No. I just thought it was great delivery. See, because now I got you off balance. Here's Jim. I love the podcast. Okay, let's start there. Right? See? I love the podcast. I couldn't possibly be a hater if I keep coming back. You guys are informative, and the show's theme music is fire. But apparently I triggered K-Dot. The only thing I can say is handle yo shit. With the laughing emoji and the side emojis. There's a little bit of misdirection there in the other direction. But hey, Jim loves the pod, man. We're informative. And he's ribbing you. He's having a good time. Get out. We love Jim. Come on.
Jim, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to leave it at that. Don't you tell me what to do.
Hey, Jim, I love the comment. Appreciate that. We go over to Coach with the final comment.
Oh, hang on 1 sec. One moment. Because I'm not realizing this is correct. No, I'm not going to shit on Jim. You know, Jim, I'll go as far as say, I love you, Jim. You piece of shit. I remember Brendan, who's trolling motherfucking troll central asshole guy. He called me immediately after listening to the episode, which I'm sure he just fast forwarded to the comment.
Obviously.
I just want you to know how much he's jerking off to the fact that we're giving him this much attention every week.
Oh, I'm well aware of that. But it's the comment mailbag. Which we never reiterated. Just to be clear, I forgot to do that.
I did too.
We'll do it again next week as well. But if you're still watching right now, just to be clear, the comments you could do what you want with them. If you have questions about literally anything, we will basically answer them. The only time we didn't answer one, and even then, you know what? There was a guy, it was during the Jets preseason game, and it was a pretty racist comment, to be totally honest. K-Dot saw it too. I didn't even tell him about it. I didn't know that he saw it, but it was bad. And I even replied saying, hey, you have a day edit this, spruce it up a little bit, I will still read it.
I had to stop you live on the fucking show.
And he ended up, well, ultimately I decided not to, just to be clear. But because then he followed up with another racist one. I was like, all right, I got to report this guy to YouTube now. It's very annoying. Yeah, because he was starting to spam the comment mailbag. But basically, you can ask anything you want, and we will read it.
We don't feed troll. We try our best not to feed trolls, but Ahmed has a particular desire to feed.
Within bounds, I think it's fine. We go over to Coach.
His existence is out of bounds.
Well, I think the setup with Brendan, just the JJ McCarthy over and over, set up pretty beautifully in that situation. We go to Coach, and we conclude with Coach. Shout out. Division games are funny, but I think Dallas and New York are done. Absent major coaching / personnel changes, and I could see Washington sweeping both teams. That's going to be Dallas and New York. Colin Cowherd is a turd that only says shit to get engagement, which I can relate to. But he says one thing about football that I like. Great teams can win games multiple ways. Other teams can only win one way. Philly and Washington are both win one-way teams, but for different reasons. Philly runs a high school offense. See Brett Coleman's hell video, which means that Philly's issue is a coaching issue that can possibly get fixed this season. Kellen Moore's offense has issues, but the Eagles' offense the past 2 seasons has been Nick Sirianni's offense, not Brian Johnson's offense, who is, of course, here now. With Washington, the script is to stay ahead of the chains and dominate time of possession to bail out that defense and keep them off the field. Washington can still be competitive behind the sticks, but I don't think I will ever see them being dominant behind them. Looking forward to the trade deadline and week 11. # share this shit. That is the comment from Coach Lombard. K. Your reaction?
I love that you did clean up the Colin Cowherd thing, because, I mean, Colin Cowherd, Eagles fans, y'all one and the same. As a matter of fact, I actually give Colin a lot more credit for being a much more positive human being overall than most of you fuckers. Was it a week ago, 2 weeks ago? I said that I thought that the vibes were worse in Philly than they were in Dallas. Because I was reverting on what I said preseason, which is preseason I had the Eagles winning the division, and I said I was possibly thinking about flipping it. I take it back. The vibes in Dallas, especially after hearing Jerry Jones on the fucking radio last week, are horrific.
It is horrible. They can't stop the run. They can't run. Those are two of the most. You need to be able to do at least one. If you can't do both, you're fucked. That's the way.
Trayvon Diggs just getting dogged. All that I could think of when I'm watching either the Eagles or the Cowboys play is how much more they'd love to have the guys that are currently on our coaching staff that they might have used to have. And I'm like, fuck you. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling. It's a wonderful feeling.
It is absolutely beautiful. I mean, it feels good, huh? Like, especially because now it's starting to creep in. They're like, well, Dan Quinn's defense didn't do this. They're like, yeah, I know. And it was something they didn't mention in the offseason. Remember when Dan Quinn was hired? They're like, oh, flat hire. Dallas defense will be just fine. Look at it now. We actually do have one more. I unchecked thing to discover a comment from Junior Nemhard. Shout out. Saint Ass Juice was terrible. With that being said, yeah, I know. I think that's why it maybe got filtered. But even though I have the filters off, but with that being said, there were some positives. Our offense can move the ball, and they didn't have no quit in them at all. Once we get our defense in order, we will be a menace to the rest of the league. # HTTR, # HTTC, # raise hail. And that's the comment from Junior Nemhard. Kid out your reaction.
One note. Stop insulting the players. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, if you weren't going to do it, I was going to do it, because this idea, I absolutely hate when they roast players that are, 1, doing their best, 2, St. Juste was never meant to be the number 1 corner, and he's doing it for our team because he's the best one at it relative to what we have. And he consistently gets ridiculed, and like people are like, ship him out of town for what? Noah? They've been like, I mean, he just got here. So like, it's ridiculous. They're all trying their best. They're all working on it together. Defense is a lot about cohesion. Not all of football is, but like, let them grow, man. It's a new system as well. It just frustrates me.
It's just not part of our identity as Washington football fans. Okay. We're not Eagles fans. We don't come from a place of negativity when it comes to this team, even when things are bad. Like, outside of Daniel Snyder, who say whatever you want to about that motherfucker. As a matter of fact, I did go see the movie The Apprentice just to fucking stick it to him. Fuck you, Dan. You know what, the George Allen Redskins. Hip hip hooray! Joe Gibbs, the most Christian man you might ever find. Okay? Like Darrell Green. I don't think he's capable of cursing. Like we are not the assholes in other places. Okay? We're built on pride and knowing that we love these guys that don the burgundy and gold. And when they're not performing up to stuff, you can hold them accountable. There's no denying that. And you can have the tough conversations, but to call somebody Saint Ash Juice, as clever as it is, I expect it from Eagles fans, not us. Okay. Not us.
That's perfectly said. And so that was the show. That was the Common Mailbag. This was District Divider, a DC Sports Podcast. More specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. Thank you guys so much for listening to this jam-packed episode. There's still more to go, by the way. We're talking about the Commanders trade deadline very briefly here. Some DBs just for a few minutes. Shout out user SC for once again. Appreciate that. And if you enjoyed the video, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Comment as you always do. And K-Dot.
Share this shit. Share it.
Oh, it's been a while since we've seen that. Share this shit, please. We greatly appreciate it. And without further ado, after the pod begins right now. All righty. So, K-Dot,
yes, sir. We've
seen some big trades in the NFL. A couple big ones of note. Of course, Cam Akers gets traded to the Vikings as well. That's actually something they did last year, funnily enough. But Amari Cooper to the Bills, the bigger one. Devontae Adams to the Jets in terms of the headlines. What did you make of those real quick? And then let's talk about our Commanders here.
I mean, we still got a while before the actual trade deadline. I would just
November
say that
5th.
Nothing that happened so far was shocking. It's all sort of expected things that were supposed to happen. It was just about where the destination was going to be. I think everybody, Vegas included, knew that there was one team above all other teams as far as New York trying to go get Devontae, because they are in full-blown panic mode after firing Robert Saleh, and it does not work for them. As far as I picked them to win that game because I thought that they were going to have the new coach boost. Didn't fucking matter, I guess. So now they're going to, I think Aaron probably came back in the room and talked about what Mike Williams did. And they're like, okay, sir, we'll get you somebody else. Yeah, no, Mike Williams cost me a lot of fucking money. So yeah, I mean, no surprise. And Amari Cooper getting the fuck out of Cleveland, once again, no surprise. They should be selling off fucking everything. You know, that might not even help. I guess get started on the rebuild.
With Cleveland?
With Cleveland, just get started.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate you taking the Cleveland perspective on that rather than the Bills perspective. But
I know as far as the Bills go, I mean, that's the thing is like the Bills are in this situation right now where they are better overall this year than I think a lot of people expected. I think people were sleeping on them, including me.
Yep.
And with the Jets,
I didn't have them winning. Yeah.
And with the Jets off to a very, very slow and mediocre start, and with Miami struggling through the injuries and stuff, there's a door open. And look, they wanted to wait for some of these wide receivers to develop the way they need to. Keon Coleman, this, that. If you can go get a surefire guy, do it. And I'm sorry, but Stephon Diggs, I don't think he's a problem child, but I'll give Amari Cooper credit. Can you imagine Stephon Diggs in Cleveland?
Oh, my Lord. I wish he was there. Just from a content standpoint, for him, it would suck. But that's
my thing with Amari Cooper. Is be like, oh, you guys just went ahead and you got a diva receiver. You should have kept Stephon Diggs. I'm just pointing out, I don't think Stephon's a diva, quite. But I will say, if he was in Cleveland, it would not be treated the way that the Amari Cooper is.
You know, that's the difference here, too. I hear a lot of people say, well, okay, the Bills traded away the number one wide receiver, so why would they get a different one immediately? And it's like, I don't think that was... Guys, let's be real. It was a personality thing. Let's call it what it was, right? Like, that's the reason they end up moving Stephon Diggs elsewhere. It had been rumored for 2 years.
Yeah.
Based on liked tweets by Trayvon or by Stephon himself, based on subtleties. Beyond that, like, that was the reason. Amari, I think, fits their culture quite well. And I think he's going to be somebody that can end up doing some serious damage. They're still going to be a run-first team, in my opinion. I think that's a great way to win games in the regular season. Prevents Josh Allen from going full Josh Allen. He hasn't thrown a pick this season, K-Dot. So I think Joe Brady's done an excellent job, their OC over there. And I like the Devontae move to the Jets. They had to do it. We'll see if it works. They're 2-4. But I like from a complimentary. They had to salvage this season. Aaron. Absolutely. Yeah. Because I do buy into the chemistry. 1, 2, I think from a complimentary football perspective, defenses now have to play differently against them. But this could be a conversation for another time. I want to get to that comment, talk about the Commanders. So why won't, and I'll read it again. It was, why won't Washington sign a defensive back and trade for a big receiver to free Terry from the possession duties? Okay, you could pick either one there, either the receiver or the DB.
They have signed some guys, if I'm not mistaken, just kind of under the radar guys. I think
they have
Kyle Fuller.
Yeah,
did he
at least
sign?
For a workout? Last I checked, he hadn't, but
he just came in.
So yeah, he came in.
They're constantly looking at Dan Quinn even addressed it because the trade deadline with all the big names is something that they've been asked about a lot. And I think Dan Quinn's response was something along the lines of like, yeah, we're always looking for ways to make our team better. Just because the trade deadline's here does not mean that we're not always looking at situations to see whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze, basically, on making a particular move. I think that people can have disagreements on whether or not they think that they should make a move as of right now. I am on the fence in a sense. Like, I do think offensively, all right, let's keep it to defensive back, I guess. At corner specifically, yeah, the position's not being played as good as it could be. That being said, I do think that Baltimore Ravens game down the stretch were clearly some breakdowns, and they did not play up to the peak that I've seen them at times this season. Benjamin St. Juice by far had his worst game this year. There were moments of this season where I actually could compliment his play.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, the idea of like getting a vet in there to win potentially more games in the short term in lieu of getting these dudes the playing time to figure out whether or not they are the right guy, and then seeing whether or not you're going to then spend draft capital in the draft on getting these other positions upgraded. I think they're still kind of in that territory. I would not be surprised if they got like a Kyle Fuller, but unless you're talking about an upper echelon, like absolute younger shutdown corner, like when people talk about like Jaycee Horn, his name kind of getting rolled around, unless they're going to pull one
if
of those.
The Panthers are truly sellers,
right? And I wouldn't do it. I mean, if you can get a dude that like, hey, buy the jersey, he's here for at least the next 7 years. Maybe it's just most teams don't want to get rid of those guys.
And so here's where I stand. So K-Dot, and to the person asking the question, I would ask you, what is your goal for this season? Right? Because when we came into this season, we heard the term recalibrate a whole lot. And actually, we're beginning to see more recalibrate than rebuild. Right? Because rebuild would imply maybe we're 2-4 or 1-5 or something like that. Recalibrate 4-2. That makes sense to me. I think they've done a great job of it so far. Is it to figure out what we have? Is it to reassess and go, oh, the 4-2 that we should now go for it and go for a Super Bowl right now? I would not. I've been on the record saying I would not. So for me, it is a lot about bringing in people that this coaching staff trusts. So when we go back to before the season, the name I was harping on over and over and over again was Stephon Gilmore, right? That was a guy I wanted, and I could see value in him being here if we had signed him. Now, with that being said, would he have come here? Maybe, based on the relationship, but also maybe not, because we were starting a rookie quarterback, because we didn't have the coaching staff fully in place yet. There is a culture change occurring, so maybe he wasn't interested in coming here. So it's also important you can't just go, as much as even I would like to at times go, we should have signed Stephon Gilmore, having seen some of the games. I don't think it's that simple. I really don't. So that's where I stand on it. There is no Stephon Gilmore out there now. If there are some corners that have relationships with Jason Simmons or Joe Witt or Dan Quinn, I'll listen, because I think they'll know what they want to do, and they'll already be able to have that communication down pat. That's so important. But outside of that, let's see what we have here. Let's continue to see what we have here. Let's see if that communication gets better, as Joe Witt has talked about. That's how I feel about that. Wide receiver room, I want to see how Luke McCaffrey develops. Noah Brown, I think, has done a perfectly fine job as the bigger possession receiver to help Terry out. I want to see Ben Sinnott begin to get opportunities. If he's a second tight end and all of a sudden we're in 2 tight end sets as well, what does that look like? Right? So I'm fine with what we have is the short answer to the question, but I gave you the longer one. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's on offense as far as wide receivers in particular. I know the only name that I'd ever entertained that's right now looks like he might potentially be on the market is the T. Higgins move.
Does he block? See, now I'm beginning to think that way. Right.
Once again, the only one that I'm actually like sniffing at or wanted to even do due diligence to see whether or not it's the right. I haven't even done that. Is T. Higgins. Beyond that, it's like I said during the going through the All-22 stuff. The offense still is nowhere yet mature to the level at which they're taking advantage of the matchups completely. There's still a lot more distribution of the football that needs to occur for me to know that they're utilizing what they already have in the building enough just yet. Like I said, Luke McCaffrey's open all the time. As a matter, I know everybody's been using the charts. Even we use it for the EPA on Twitter. You can see them all the time. And there's the chart about amount of separation, and you see Luke McCaffrey like all the way up the top, all by himself. And I'm like, that's what I'm seeing. Like there's more opportunities to be taken within the confines of here than what we have right now. If they continue the same distribution, and once again, I see guys that are open, and you add a T. Higgins to this team. Maybe he gets a flashy play here and there, but I still don't see it where he's going to be having 100 yards and 2 touchdowns a fucking game. They still got to distribute a bit more. So I just don't even see the value in it as of right now. It's kind of, and you get some teams that you start looking at that stuff, and like some teams are better off not doing that. I always look back at the New England Patriots. When they had Randy Moss, they had one of the most potent offenses in the history of the NFL. They did not win one goddamn Super Bowl the entire time he was there. What did they do a better job of? Having a collection of guys that could do X thing that worked within the confines of the offense, and they took advantage of it. I'm sure it would be more flashy as we saw with the Randy Moss, but then to play actual football within the confines of the offense, it was different. Randy was doing his thing. He's a playmaker, no doubt. You need playmakers, but I still don't even think we know who the playmakers are truly across this team because they haven't necessarily gotten the opportunities just yet. Look, and Dan Quinn got asked this specifically too, and I remember bringing this up last week. When you know you have the quarterback, which I think everybody's of the agreement that we're here right now, the timer clicks on as far as taking full advantage while he's on the rookie contract to try to put the best team together that you possibly can, right?
Right.
So there's a balance. What do you do to make the team better without putting yourself in a situation where if it doesn't work out with whoever it is you sign or trade for, it gives you maximum flexibility to get the fuck out of it or to pivot to something else? It's much harder than you think. A lot of times when you do these moves, it's like you're all in for this thing to work. It's like I'm looking at with the Jets and Davante Adams. If I'm looking at the list of things that the Jets need, Davante Adams is not near the top of that fucking list. It's nice. You got a playmaker. It's wonderful. But it's not, if I'm building a team with a young quarterback the way you're supposed to, I don't need to go all in on this one dude to be the playmaker and our savior.
Yeah. I want to quickly highlight both sides of that argument, because in the case of Davante, I think it's particularly special and unique because he already has the relationship. I value relationship, in case you guys couldn't tell, I value relationships in sports very, very highly. Davante, even with the Brandon Ayuk thing, I was like, this is the exception. I would do it for him and only him. When it came to Davante, I said, no, do not. The thing with Davante is he knows Aaron. And I think when you talk about the list of other needs for the Jets, and we talk about complementary football, we talk about Brian Robinson missing this last game, and if he plays, maybe the result is different, right? So I think Davante maybe helps mask some of the other issues for them. That's one unique thing about him, right? Is that maybe he opens it up for other people. His presence alone should change the way teams game plan and how game script goes come the third quarter and fourth quarter in those games. That's one. On the other side of things, and that also depends on A-Rod being him, Like, still, we don't know. There's no indication that that's true. We'll see if this excites him and he can get back to it. But here's the other thing about even T. Higgins. You could trade for him now, potentially. I don't know. Bengals probably won't do it. They feel they've got a Super Bowl window here, so they'll probably keep him. But let's say that there was something like 2 second rounders you could do, and you could get him.
Yep.
There's a cost to that. There's an expectation that he's going to get a long-term deal here. That's part of it. And there's also the fact that when you hit on quarterback, well, I haven't seen the list of wide receiver free agents yet. They're going to be lining up to come here. And you could do that without paying any draft capital. We got a lot of cap space.
Yeah.
We got a lot of draft capital. And I could force a trade for a T. Higgins, who is a good player. I like T. Higgins, just to be clear. Or who wants to come here? Who wants to be a part of this culture? Who wants to be able to play with the Jayden Daniels if he continues to progress the way he's progressing right now? Everything changes when you hit on that pick, and I feel we have so far, right? So that's the flip side, is continue to develop chemistry with the people you have here in the culture that you've built. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the season, show off what you just did and have people come to you. And I think we're going to end up with a number of people that want to come here for the first time in a very, very long time. And I'm excited for that.
I think that's a good high level, almost philosophical view on the way of doing things. My next volley, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. Defensively, we are not a cornerback away from being as competitive as we need to be defensively.
Mm-hmm.
We're not one pass rusher away from being as competitive as we need to be defensively. I'm sure either one of those things would help, but we're also in the middle of a rebuild as far as that defense goes without saying the word. And there's much more of a holistic approach that you need to do to build everything so it rises together. So yeah, I don't think that we're a Stephon Gilmore away from being extremely competitive on defense. Look, even the dude who I've been kicking the tires on as far as Hassan Reddick, who, trust me, the vibes are not great. I do like that he hired Drew Rosenhaus as somebody that at least got some semblance of a mind and maybe has more control. But I don't think we're a Hassan Reddick away from being as competitive as we need to be defensively. There's still a lot of stuff that they're doing as far as the install of the defense and getting the right guys in position. And you still got dudes like Jordan McGee who are coming in. You got dudes that are getting more playing time that is young. Like, I still think they were, and even they went as far as to say Dan Quinn is on record. Emmanuel Forbes is going to get another shot. Let's see what happens when he gets this last opportunity. Yeah, it's frustrating to see when you've nailed the quarterback pick so fucking badly and the offense is spitting out exactly what it is they're doing, that you're like, hey, we got to make moves to be better. We got to make moves to be better. What I will always reiterate is you can't cheat the system. If you notice the success that Houston had last year going into this year, they didn't make the lazy move to try to put themselves over the hump. They built and like, hey, wow, we're ahead of schedule at the end of the season. That felt good. Now what can we add to it? You don't need to make the move right now unless it's the perfect move to make. And I think when you're looking at an offseason, at a draft and everything, you allow yourself a lot more options than what's available right now and at a much cheaper rate than what's available right now. So do that.
Yep. Completely agreed. Any final thoughts here before we wrap it up?
If you haven't, there's a movie on Amazon Prime Video called Snack Shack. This is to everybody. So I've been making I always have a list of like my favorite movies so far of the year. As of right now, number 1 is Civil War, the Alice Garland movie that came out earlier this year. Number 2 is Dune Part 2. Everybody knows about that one. And number 3 over the course of the entire year is actually Snack Shack. Wonderful coming of age movie. If you just want to smile and have a good time, I actually cried during it too. Yeah. Wonderful little movie. Unknown director, mostly unknown cast, except for one of the leads was also in Saturday Night, the movie about the Jason Reitman's movie about the making of the first episode of Saturday Night Live, which I did also enjoy. But yeah, I would tell everybody to go check that one out. And I think tomorrow I get to go see my baby Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield.
Oh, you do love her. There you go. All right, well, watch Snack Shack, guys. So until then, thanks for listening, and we will see you on the other side of this game against the Carolina Panthers, hopefully a Shades Monday. So until then. Take it easy, guys.
Beating the fuck down, please.
Yeah. What?
No, I'm just trying to see. I just want to see how long it can drag it out. Right,
I thought about it.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.